Galactic Assembly was an ancient hall of power. For thousands of years, alien empires had gathered there to make laws, settle disputes, and argue over territory. Worlds with long histories of war and conquest sat in high seats, while younger races often stayed silent in the back rows. At one end of the chamber, beneath the glowing banners of Earth, the human delegation sat quietly. Their uniforms were neat, their voices calm, their faces patient. Unlike most other species, humans rarely raised their voices in debate. They smiled even when insulted. They nodded politely even when dismissed. To many in the assembly, this behavior was seen as weakness. Humans, sneered the delegate of the Krath Dominion, a reptilian race known for its cruelty, are nothing but polite children among giants. They cannot protect their own colonies, so why should they sit at the same table as true powers? The humans did not reply with anger. Ambassador Helena Cross, leader of Earth's delegation, only offered a small smile. "Courtesy costs nothing," she said in her measured voice. "We prefer peace to conflict." Her words caused laughter across the chamber. To most species there, peace was something that existed only when one side had already won. The idea of choosing peace instead of dominance was considered foolish. For years, this pattern continued. Alien fleets blocked human trade ships. Human diplomats were insulted at every gathering. Colonies at the edge of human space were sometimes raided by mercenaries supported by larger empires. And still, the humans never responded with fire. They sent aid, rebuilt what was destroyed, and returned to the assembly with polite words. To outsiders, it appeared that Earth was weak. But there were whispers, faint and scattered, that perhaps there was more beneath the surface. Among those who doubted the common view was Ambassador Tirakal of the Ver Collective. Tirakal was young by the standards of his people, a scholar who studied the behavior of other races. He had been observing humans for years, and what he saw did not match the image of weakness that others believed. "Look at them," he whispered to one of his aides during a meeting. "When threatened, they do not panic. When insulted, they do not rage. That is not fear. That is discipline. They are hiding something." His aide, an older Ver, shook his head. "You give them too much credit. They are a minor species. They still struggle with their own planetary politics. They cannot challenge empires that span hundreds of systems." But Tirakal remained uneasy. He had noticed how human ships were rarely scanned fully. They traveled with outdated models in public convoys, yet there were reports of hidden signals. Fleets that vanished without a trace. Colonies that rebuilt faster than possible. It was as if humanity showed only one face to the galaxy, while concealing another. The test came soon enough. The Zarkathi Empire, one of the oldest and most feared powers, launched a surprise attack on a small human colony named Ardent Prime. The colony was peaceful, with little defense. Families, farmers, engineers, all wiped out in a single strike. The Zarkathi did it not for resources, but for pride. They wanted to remind humans of their place. News of the massacre spread quickly. In the assembly, many expected humans to bow their heads, to apologize for being in the wrong place, to quietly rebuild as they always had. The chamber was filled with murmurs of satisfaction, but when Ambassador Cross rose to speak, the room grew strangely quiet. She did not smile this time. Her voice was still calm, but there was no softness in it. She looked across the hall at the gathered powers, her eyes steady. "For years," she said, "Earth has endured your insults. For years, we have chosen courtesy over conflict. We hoped our example might guide this assembly toward peace. We hoped patience might prevent bloodshed." Her words echoed through the hall. Some listened with faint amusement, thinking it was another speech of weakness. Others leaned forward, sensing a change. "But now," she continued, "you have crossed the final line. You slaughtered our people. You laughed while they burned. And so we will give you our last warning." Every delegate in the chamber felt a sudden chill. Cross raised her voice slightly, not in a shout, but in clarity that cut through the noise. "Stop attacking or we stop pretending to be courteous." The silence that followed was heavy. Even the proudest warlords did not laugh. Something in her tone carried a weight they did not understand. Then, as always, the assembly erupted into arguments. Some mocked the humans, calling their threat empty. Others muttered uneasily, wondering if there was truth behind those words. Tirakal sat frozen, his mind racing. He remembered the strange signals, the hidden convoys, the too perfect patience. He realized what had been troubling him for years. The humans were not weak. They had never been weak. They were hiding their strength behind courtesy, waiting, and now perhaps the mask was about to fall. That night, as the delegates left the assembly, the galaxy buzzed with rumors. Most laughed at Earth's warning, dismissing it as desperation. But in the dark corners of space, where spies and scholars whispered, one question spread like wildfire. What happens if humans stop pretending? The warning from Earth spread across the galaxy like fire on dry grass. It was repeated on every communication channel, analyzed in every military office, and mocked in countless taverns. Most great empires dismissed it as an empty threat. The Zarkathi Empire, proud and arrogant, was the first to respond. Their leaders laughed at the message. Humans, they said. They cannot even defend a single colony. Let them bark. We will crush them if they dare to growl again. But 3 days later, the laughter ended. The Zarkathi fleet that destroyed Ardent Prime suddenly vanished. Entire armadas numbering thousands of warships stopped transmitting. Their supply lines went dark. Their homeworld screamed for updates, but none came. Scouts sent to investigate returned with broken voices, describing shadows in space and weapons that did not match any known design. Panic spread through the Zarkathi courts, and fear began to ripple across the galaxy. In the Galactic Assembly, the usual noise of debate was gone. Delegates whispered nervously instead of shouting. Rumors filled the air. Some said Earth had unleashed secret weapons. Others claimed that unknown allies had come to their defense. Ambassador Helena Cross sat calmly in her seat, her face unreadable. She did not confirm or deny the stories. She simply waited. Ambassador Turakal of the Ver Collective approached her quietly. "Was it you?" he asked in a low voice. Cross only looked at him with calm eyes. "You saw what happened. Draw your own conclusion." That answer chilled him more than any confirmation. The truth was spreading even without words. Human fleets that were thought to be outdated were suddenly reported in distant systems. They moved with strange silence, their drives hidden from sensors. Colonies that were considered undefended now pulsed with hidden shields and weapons that bent energy like water. On the outer edges of the galaxy, an alien patrol ship stumbled upon something impossible. In a region thought empty, massive human shipyards were discovered, hidden within asteroid fields and cloaked in gravitational distortions. Gigantic warships, larger than any the galaxy had ever seen, rested in silence like sleeping giants. The patrol sent a signal, then it was never heard from again. The galaxy began to remember old stories. Long ago, before joining the assembly, humans were called Deathworlders, a race from a harsh planet where survival meant constant struggle. Many had forgotten that title, laughing it away as exaggeration. But now whispers of that word returned. Deathworlders, dangerous, patient, waiting. The Zarkathi tried to recover their pride. They gathered their remaining fleets and launched them toward Earth's borders, determined to show strength. But as soon as they crossed the line, the truth revealed itself. The human armada appeared. They did not arrive with noise or grand speeches. They emerged from the void silently, as if the darkness itself had birthed them. Sleek black vessels with sharp lines and glowing edges, warships 10 times the size of Zarkathi destroyers, moving with perfect precision. Their weapons glowed faintly, not with fire but with restrained power. The Zarkathi commanders shouted orders, launching missiles and plasma beams. But nothing landed. Human ships shifted position in ways no computer could predict, their shields bending attacks like ripples in a pond. When they returned fire, they did not destroy. They simply disabled. Zarkathi fleets were left drifting, powerless, their weapons frozen, their engines cut. It was not mercy. It was demonstration. Across the galaxy, thousands of hidden observers recorded the event. They saw the truth. The humans were not bluffing. They had always possessed this power. They had simply chosen not to use it. In the assembly, silence reigned. The delegates trembled as reports poured in. Their fleets, they are beyond anything we understand. They could have destroyed the Zarkathi, but they did not. Why? Are they warning us? Or are they still holding back? Ambassador Cross finally stood once more. "You see now," she said, her voice calm but firm. "Courtesy was never weakness. It was restraint. We chose peace because we valued peace. But if you force our hand, we will no longer pretend. We will not tolerate the slaughter of our people again." The assembly listened, and for the first time in living memory, no one interrupted. Ambassador Trakal returned to his quarters that night with his mind in turmoil. He thought about the years when everyone had mocked humans. He thought about their patience, their silence, their quiet smiles in the face of insult. He realized what it had all meant. The humans had been watching, preparing, waiting for the moment when their hand would be forced. They had been giving the galaxy a chance, many chances, to avoid destruction. And now, with their warning spoken, the mask had begun to fall. Meanwhile, in secret chambers across the galaxy, leaders of other empires held emergency meetings. Some urged caution, demanding new treaties with Earth. Others plotted secretly, still too proud to admit fear. But every single one of them asked the same question, whispered in the dark. If this is only the beginning of Earth showing its strength, what happens if they stop holding back entirely? The galaxy was on the edge of something new. And all of it had begun with a single warning. Stop attacking or we stop pretending to be courteous. The Zarkathi fleets were disabled, their proud empire silenced. Yet Earth had not destroyed them. No cities had been burned, no planets had been shattered. Humanity had shown strength but also control. For many, this was more terrifying than total destruction. In the chambers of the Galactic Assembly, every delegate waited for Earth's next move. Empires that once mocked the humans now whispered about treaties, apologies, or surrender. Prideful races that had never admitted fear in centuries felt it pressing on their hearts. Ambassador Helena Cross returned to the podium. She did not raise her voice, but the silence of the room made every word heavy. For generations, she said, we have endured insult, theft, and slaughter. We hoped patience would teach the value of peace. We believed restraint would build trust. But restraint is not weakness. Courtesy is not surrender. We showed you kindness. You mistook it for fragility. Her eyes swept across the chamber. We will not allow that mistake again. On the edge of known space, the human armada moved. The fleets that had hidden for centuries in cloaked shipyards now rose like a tide. Gigantic carriers, each carrying thousands of smaller craft, dreadnoughts, their hulls lined with weapons that glowed faintly with restrained power, escorts and cruisers that moved with impossible coordination, guided by artificial intelligence and human instinct combined. Entire systems trembled as the human armada revealed itself. Sensors that had never detected them before now screamed warnings across the galaxy. The alien empires realized the truth. Earth's silence had been the greatest deception in galactic history. While the Assembly mocked them, while colonies were raided, while fleets were tested, Earth had been preparing. They had built in secret not to conquer, but to defend themselves if the day came when patience was no longer enough. And now, that day had come. The galaxy's reaction was chaos. The Krath Dominion scrambled to move fleets closer to their homeworlds. The Zarkathi begged for mercy, though their leaders still tried to hold on to pride. Smaller empires debated whether to align with Earth or prepare for war. The Assembly was paralyzed. Ambassador Turakal of the Vare watched everything with growing awe. He had suspected humans were more than they appeared, but even he had not imagined this scale of preparation. When he spoke privately with Helena Cross, his voice trembled. Why reveal yourselves now? Why not continue hiding? Cross studied him carefully before answering. Because hiding invites predators. Courtesy invites parasites. We believed the galaxy could choose peace if given enough chances. But the massacre at Ardent Prime proved otherwise. We cannot remain silent any longer. This is not conquest. This is a lesson. The lesson arrived swiftly. Another empire, proud and unwise, decided to test humanity's warning. The Vertok clans sent raiding ships toward a human outpost. They thought Earth would again stop at words. They were wrong. Within hours, the outpost was surrounded, not by Vertok ships, but by the human armada itself. The raiders' weapons shut down. Their engines failed, and their ships were dragged helplessly into human carriers. Not one shot was fired by Earth, yet the entire fleet was captured. The message spread faster than light. Earth could end wars without blood. They could crush fleets without killing. They held power greater than fear itself, the power of total control. In the Assembly, the tension reached its peak. Delegates demanded answers. What do you want from us? Cried the representatives of smaller races. If you are so powerful, why not conquer us all? Ambassador Cross raised her hand, silencing the room. We do not want conquest, she said firmly. We do not want your worlds, your riches, or your thrones. We want only peace. But understand this. Peace will not come from your generosity. It will come from your obedience to a simple truth. Earth will not be attacked again. Our people will not be slaughtered again. From this day forward, aggression against humanity will be answered not with words, but with consequences. Her final words cut into every heart in the chamber. Courtesy is over when survival is at stake. The galaxy shifted. Some empires bent quickly, sending envoys to Earth with apologies and treaties. Others hesitated, still clinging to pride, but even they pulled back their fleets from human borders. The memory of disabled armadas and captured ships burned too brightly in their minds. The Zarkathi, broken and humiliated, offered reparations. For the first time in history, the predator begged mercy from the prey it had once mocked, and humanity accepted, but only on their terms. They rebuilt Ardent Prime with Zarkathi resources, forcing the Empire to labor for the colony's rebirth. This was not revenge. This was justice. Ambassador Trakal stood again before his people, delivering his report. His voice was heavy but filled with respect. Humans are not what we believed. They are not weak. They are not foolish. They were courteous because they chose to be. And when they stopped, we saw the truth. They are the most dangerous species in the galaxy, because they can choose kindness even when they hold the power to destroy. He paused, then added, "If we are wise, we will not make the mistake of testing them again." The story of Earth's last warning became legend. Across the stars, children grew up hearing the words, "Stop attacking or they stop pretending to be courteous." It was no longer a threat. It was a promise written into the history of the galaxy, and in quiet moments, when alien leaders looked out at the stars, they wondered, if humans had been hiding this much power for so long, what else might they still be hiding? The galaxy would never know for certain. But one truth became clear to all. Humanity's courtesy was not weakness. It was mercy. And mercy was the one thing they could no longer take for granted.